Let's rank some stuff. Let's get into it.
Rank stuff?
Rank stuff.
Tier list stuff.
It's the same, isn't it?
No, it's very
Each one
different.
is ranked individually.
Tier lists require less effort. Because for ranking, we need to definitively determine, okay, is this one, objectively better than the one prior to it? But with this one, we can just be like, well, they're both pretty good. They're both an A, probably. Or a B. Or an F if we want to make people mad.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Anyway, this week, we're ranking the MCU Phase 1.
Now, I recall this being all hits, no misses.
Wow. We're including some bonus stuff here, which came out during Phase 1, but weren't necessarily cinematic releases.
Oh, DVD extras?
We're expanding. We're going chronologically, roughly also. The MCU timeline, it's all over the place and gets more complicated, but, we'll muddle our way through it.
So we're doing chronologically in our time, not chronologically in Marvel
Correct.
time.
That's
okay,
right.
Sure.
Anyway, please leave a like and make sure you scream at us about what you think in the bottom. Iron Man 2008.
That's S tier, my friend.
S tier, yeah. Well, you think this is the greatest comic book movie of all time.
I think it's up there.
I know you said you didn't want to rank everything, but you've done that, haven't you?
This movie, it still holds up today. The effects still hold up.
Yep.
The performances still hold
Wonderful.
up. The plot mostly makes sense.
Yeah, mostly.
And all of this exists because they had to try because it was success or lose access to the character, basically. The bank would own it. If they didn't, if this wasn't a hit,
Oh my God.
they would have had to start again with even worse characters. There's some rewriting of history, James. People always like, well, actually, Iron Man was always a very popular character. No, he wasn't. I loved Iron Man as a kid, and I was the only person I knew.
Okay.
The popular characters were Spider-Man, the Hulk, and Wolverine.
You hung out with cool kids, though. That's why.
true.
You're in a cool group.
I'm like, do you think Iron Man's the coolest comic book character? And they were like, no, the coolest comic book character is smoking.
And that's true.
The Mask. They were talking about The Mask.
Yeah, I can't really argue with any of that. Iron Man is a wonderful movie and obviously kicked off everything for a reason.
And also famously a
real jalopy of a production.
A real disaster behind the scenes, and it's astounding that it looks as good as it does. You know what I mean? But again, and this is years before they went, you know what, we've got this. We've got this, we don't have to try, let's do it in post.
Yep.
You know?
Absolutely.
They did a lot of this in pre.
Next up, we've got The Incredible Hulk.
Oh yeah, that's in this era as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it is technically an MCU movie.
Technically.
Okay, sure.
Now, we've covered this and Iron Man in Caravan of Garbage. I think it's an interesting exploration of the character. It does feel kind of disconnected from the MCU. Less so now because they've kind of weaved more of that back in to various storylines. But it's, I think it's okay.
Sure.
And I don't love the design of the Hulk.
Yeah, see, that would be the key, I think.
Yeah.
I love the Iron Man design from that era. This Hulk design.
We'll talk about a movie later that I think absolutely nails the Hulk and he's never looked better. But this one I don't love. I think it's pretty serviceable in terms of a property. It also hints towards like what's coming next, but in a less exciting way than Iron Man did it.
For example, Martin Starr in the Spider-Man universe.
Sure, it's a perfect example. I'm going to say a C.
Yeah, I was also going to say.
Not a bad C.
Towards the upper region of C.
Yeah.
You know?
It's like you clearly put in the work.
If we could put it sort of on the cusp, like just like it's going to pop up to a
But it's definitely
to a B,
not.
but it's not, but it is a C.
Because it can't. That's not how these work.
That's right.
And next up we've got, you're not going to believe this, Mason, they made a second Iron Man movie, Iron Man 2.
I sure did.
They tried to recapture a lot of the magic from the first movie. The formula for Iron Man, and I guess a lot of MCU movies in general, was now in place.
That's right. They were cheering behind the scenes. We've got a formula.
Yep.
Never going to die. We're never going to have a movie that isn't a hit.
I think there's some great sequences. Again, we've talked about this one. Racetrack sequence is really good. The opening where he's out of the airplane, Justin Hammer, I really enjoy.
I think Sam Rockwell as Justin Hammer is great. I kind of wish that he was a competent Justin Hammer, because then he would be the evil version of Tony Stark. He'd be Tony Stark if he hadn't changed his wicked ways kind of thing. But now this is a guy who's inexplicably successful, even though nothing he builds works.
Well,
good idea for an electric jet. You do.
Oh yeah, good point.
I think it's also a C. I wouldn't be comfortable giving it a B.
Okay, sure. The racetrack sequence is really good. And it's not the fault of the film, it's the fault of the marketers that we knew he would have a briefcase Iron Man suit.
I mean, by now we'd know anyway, wouldn't we?
Because we've seen it.
Yeah.
That's very true. Yeah.
I don't think the villain's great, like Whiplash either.
Sure, yeah, because it was originally going to be, there was only going to be one villain,
Yeah.
and they sort of split it into two, which doesn't really leave enough personality for the both of them, really.
No.
And the villain, again, like ultimately just turns into another Ironmonger. And also it doesn't have a scene where Whiplash goes to Tony Stark, you can't have any pizza. I'll just have one piece of pizza.
That's true, and that's a good saying.
That is a good saying.
Yeah.
I mean, they do introduce the War Machine. That's fun.
Yep. And it's, James Rhodes is introduced again, but properly.
God, there's a lot of good stuff. I don't think it entirely gels.
Yep.
I absolutely didn't love it as much when it came out as the first one. But I've softened on it a bit. I think there's a lot to love. I'm going to give it a B.
All right. I'm going to go with you on that one.
Okay.
How's about this one? It's a Marvel short. They don't really do these anymore that much. A funny thing happened on the way to Thor's hammer.
I.e. Agent Coulson does a big flying kick on a guy in a supermarket.
Correct.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it.
Yeah, it's great.
So it's a prequel-ish to the first Thor.
Yes.
Where Coulson's going to check out this anomaly in the desert. And on the way, he gets involved in a small convenience store holdup. And he takes down some criminals.
Yeah.
I think it's just to demonstrate that this guy who we've seen in a couple of these movies is more competent than you'd initially think.
That's right.
His background is more kind of complex than you'd initially believe. He's clearly just a cut above a standard agent.
There's a reason New Christine sees so much in him.
That's right.
Remember that sitcom?
I do remember it.
Yeah.
I think this is a B.
You think it's a B?
I mean, it's 5 minutes.
It is 5
and
minutes.
It's fun.
It is
it's
fun.
It's a fun little...
Yeah,
and I
that's
think
true.
it solidified the character and it leads into other things and him getting more play in the Avengers.
Oh, that's
and
true.
his own
Yeah,
TV
no,
show
you're right.
And all of that.
I think he should have just overwhelmed this guy with like superior shield firepower. Like there should have been holograms and lasers, and he should have turned.
It's not really him. The mask comes off at his Black Widow.
Yeah. And he hits him with those electrified bolos.
Sends him into another dimension.
Yeah, that would be cool. But all right, it's a B. All right.
Yeah.
So we're putting that with Iron Man 2.
Yeah.
But above the Incredible Hulk. This 5 minutes short.
Hey, man.
Great.
Yeah.
I love it. I love that.
Here we go.
We are upsetting people. Good.
We are. I might have a controversial opinion on this next one, but original Thor.
Original Thor.
I know it's kind of quaint by today's standards, but I think Thor is an A because it shouldn't have worked.
At all? Sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
Surprising choice with Kenneth Branagh to direct this one.
Yeah.
We've definitely talked about this before on our podcast, The Weekly Planet, but I think Sarah Halley Finn, who is the casting director over at Marvel,
oh my God,
has never missed. And I think Hemsworth as Thor, great. I mean, it took, a couple of years to get the eyebrow situation sorted.
True.
Obviously, but I think beyond that, inspired
a
casting.
Relatively unknown actor at the time. He'd done like
Home and Away,
Dancing with the Stars. Original Star Trek died in the first 2 minutes.
That's right.
Some other bits and pieces, but this really, they nailed the casting.
But Hiddleston and
Hiddleston,
Natalie Portman,
course,
and
Anthony Hopkins,
great, tremendous.
Rene Russo, The Warriors 3.
Yep.
I like the design element of it, like the weird Masters of the Universe kind of
absolutely.
situation.
Quite Shakespearean in its intrigue.
You could even just go, and it's unfair on everybody else, you could just go Loki and that would be enough to like put it up quite high. That's why I think it's an A though, because of all of those elements.
That's a good movie.
Yeah. Here's another one, Mason.
Okay.
It's The Consultant.
Oh, sure. Okay.
Another short, which people may or may not remember.
Yeah. Now, this is the one where Thunderbolt Ross, he needs to
calm down.
He does need to do that. Does he need to recruit Bruce Banner into the Avengers initiative? And so he hires Tony Stark.
No, because
should we start this whole thing again?
So what it is, they want General Ross to not put the Abomination on the Avengers.
Yeah, sure.
So they send Tony Stark. And you initially think because of the Hulk, the movie, The Incredible Hulk, that he's talking about The Incredible Hulk.
Right.
But it turns out actually trying to get Emil Blonsky on the team or something.
Sure.
Agent Sitwell's in it, whatever. I don't, look, it's probably a C or a D because I don't...
And also, it is condensed into like 2 minutes at the end of Iron Man 2.
Probably
that one feels kind of like a leftover.
Yeah. I'm going to say a D.
Wow.
This next one, though, Captain America the First Avenger, I think is fantastic.
I think so too.
I think this is an S also.
This is an S tier.
Yeah.
And there's only room for one, so let's bump Iron Man. Just kidding. They can both be there.
I mean, at this point in time, I think, it's the similar thing to what you said about Iron Man. This was not an A-level character by any stretch.
I also remember thinking...
hokey and silly.
I remember thinking at the time, this is going to be a tough sell. How do you get a man who epitomizes America and get the entire world to love him when... Maybe not everybody in the world loves America, the concept of America.
But if you're in America and you don't know that, don't worry.
Yeah, don't worry.
Everybody does.
Everybody loves you. Yeah.
I think also taking it from the perspective of he's not strictly American values. He's a good man. I think that's an interesting thing where he's not beholden to the American government. He's got good core American or even worldly values.
Yes.
And that's what carries the character forward.
But also he beats up a lot of Nazis.
And he beats up a lot of Nazis.
Yeah. And this is Joe Johnston.
Yep.
Who directed The Rocketeer, amongst other things.
He got another chance to make The Rocketeer and he took it.
That's right. I think the action sequences are great.
Love the period setting.
Exactly, yes. And again, casting knocked it out of the park.
Yep. Who would have thought like the Human Torch was going to do a good job as Captain America. But I remember when they cast him and I'd just seen the movie Sunshine.
Oh, yes.
Which is one of my favorite movies.
We know.
And Chris Evans is wonderful in that. I was like, this is perfect. He's going to nail this. And he did. Yeah, again, casting alone. Haley Atwell as well. Tommy Lee Jones is in it. Toby Jones is in it.
That's right.
The two Jones brothers.
The Jones boys.
Yeah. Hugo Weaving as Red Skull.
That's
when he
right.
did it that one time.
Sure.
Doesn't do it anymore.
Nope.
I think it's great. Put an S.
Put an S to you.
Slightly above Iron Man. But they're the same. Next up we've got, this is a big one. Huge movie. It actually worked for once, building up to a team universe. The Avengers 2012.
Oh, that's right. John Steed, Emma Peel.
Yes.
Too British, just too suave, sexy.
Sean Connery.
Oh my God, in a teddy bear suit.
Yes.
He's got a weather machine. Oh my God.
The fact that this came out at all is crazy.
Isn't it though?
This is my favorite design of the Hulk. I think it's perfect. Everything about this remains my favorite. I know that he's been through various incarnations. He's animalistic, but there's a human quality to him. He's not super ripped. He's got a bit of like body fat on him. He's kind of gorilla-esque. He's kind of hunched over. I think the strength at this point is at like the right level.
Yeah.
The banter in this, Mason. It's a shame that it appears nobody directed this movie.
Isn't it though? That's right.
We don't even know,
Just
do we?
emerged fully formed. I like how it's got a bunch of silly comic book stuff, like they can turn the helicarrier invisible and etc. And they're just doing that, and
I just remember
it all works.
Watching it and being like, I just can't believe this happened. They made this.
Yeah.
And not only did they make it, they built to it, and it like grew in the box office. Like it just. I couldn't believe that they pulled it off. That being said, I reckon it's an A. I don't think it's as good as the other Iron Man and Captain America.
Yeah.
And I don't know why. I think there's elements of it that have kind of...
There are limits to our generosity of spirit.
Yeah.
I don't want to give everything an S.
It's that, and there is a bit of that kind of Joss Whedon, so that happened, whatever, which I don't love and hasn't aged particularly well, but it's got great fights between different Avengers characters before they come together to fight Loki and whatever.
That's what you need,
That's what you need. Next up, we've got Item 47.
Okay, sure.
Which is a short... a one-shot spinning off this.
That's exactly right. So it's about two...
Also, I think at this point we're technically going into phase 2, but I'm trying to space these out for future
Sure.
videos,
Okay,
all right?
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's a couple decide to go into small-time crime when they find a leftover Chitauri weapon.
Yep.
Like an energy gun or whatever it is, a laser.
They're trying to do the Spider-Man Homecoming thing. It's got Lizzie Kaplan
sure.
and Jesse Bradford. And I thought initially that, this is going to be great when they come over to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yes,
What a great get. But it's not really that. They get recruited and then it just ends.
They probably got recruited to like archives at the warehouse or something like that.
Sure.
Or accounting or, something like that.
To that effect. This is a fun one. Look, I haven't seen it in a while. I'd give it a B though.
Yeah.
I'd give it a B, Mason.
Absolutely. Why not? On star power alone.
Absolutely. And finally, again, technically not in this phase, but whatever. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
The whole thing.
Yeah, why not?
Okay, sure.
From go to woe. Well, I didn't get all the way through it. I dropped off somewhere season 2.
I think it starts out strong. I think the pilot episode I remember enjoying a lot. Primarily because Coulson has an old-timey car that can fly.
Yeah, man.
Which to me, feels like 1960s Nick Fury, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. vibes. For me, it took like a number of seasons before it really picked up the pace and was super fun. Again, it felt a little bit like...
It was adhered to the movies. Like it had to do, there's a Hydra twist.
Yeah.
Now we're doing a Hydra story and whatever.
And there was a lot of like item of the week.
Yes.
Got to recover this one thing. But I mean, future seasons we got the new Ghost Rider and Robbie Reyes.
Yep, absolutely, Sif is in it.
We got some Inhumans adventures.
That's right. Powers Booth turned up in it.
That's right.
I think it did a lot on a TV budget because I know the Netflix stuff is now in canon now. I don't know where this sits at the moment of recording.
I think everything's canon now.
Is it?
Maybe.
Right, good. It can be. Why not?
Put Robbie Reyes on the Midnight Suns.
There he is. I would say a B.
Yeah.
This show that I haven't watched all the way through, but people seem to enjoy.
And I think that will enrage people who thought it was trash garbage.
Yep.
And those people who've watched every episode multiple times.
Okay, good. Thank God.
Because I think the people who've watched every episode will be furious that it's not an S. And I think people who hated it will be furious it's not an F.
So nobody's happy.
That's right, yeah. We're happy though.
Okay, I was going to say as long as we are. Great. Wow, we did it. This is all the rankings that you can possibly imagine. We're going to come back at some point and do all the faces, I think.
If this goes well.
If this goes well. But yeah, if you do have any suggestions for other videos, we've done a bunch in the past. If you do want to check them out,
that's right.
Leave them below. Leave your own ranking if you want.
That's right.
Tier list, sorry. Or a ranking, whatever. Also, we have a service because we'd like to give back.
That's right.
For money.
For money, not for free.
No, it's called bigsandwich.co. It's like our private Patreon where there's thousands of hours of bonus content that's exclusively there. There's video game Let's Plays, there's movie commentaries, there's bonus podcasts.
That's right.
Also, we have a podcast called The Weekly Planet where we talk movies and comics and TV shows that comes out every Monday.
Yes.
Check it out if you want. That's also available at Big Sandwich early, but it's got its own YouTube channel, etc.
I'd love to know what those boys are up to.
Me too. All right, thanks everyone.
Grab that gem, you guys. We'll see you next week.
Goodbye.